Welcome to my channel. I'm Gary Wiryawan, and today we're going to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE from a perspective of a photographer. Let's go! Before we continue with today's video, if you are a current subscriber of my channel, welcome back. I hope that you will enjoy today's video, and thank you always for your support for my small channel. If you're a new viewer of my channel, welcome. I hope that you will also enjoy today's video. In this channel, I'm talking about photography, filmmaking, camera, micro four thirds and lenses, cameras. Also, I'm talking about music, home recording, guitar, rock metal, that kind of stuff. So if you're into those kind of things, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And now let's continue with today's video. So today we're going to talk about this guy right here, the brand new Samsung Galaxy S21 FE. So this is a new phone for me, and I already used it for a few days, and there are some observations in terms of photography that I want to share with you. And once again, this is not a phone review channel. I talk mostly about photography and music. However, these days our phones are basically pocket cameras that we carry everywhere, and the photography capabilities of a smartphone is also important in my opinion. So I want to discuss it today. Now let's talk about the hardware first. For the main cameras of the S21 FE, there are three cameras. One is an ultra-wide angle camera that has an equivalent focal length of 13mm in full frame. And then there's the normal wide camera, which is about 26mm in full frame terms. And then also there's a 3x optical zoom telephoto camera on this one, which is about 76mm in full frame equivalent. There's also a selfie camera on the front of the phone, and it's also about 26mm. However, the selfie camera doesn't have autofocus capabilities. Now, I don't really want to talk about video capabilities, but this phone is capable of recording 4K videos up to 60 frames per second. Anyway, let's focus on photography with the S21 FE. So first, I just want to mention that I've already used this phone for a few days already, and I already take some pictures, and I already do some observations about the image quality of this phone. And most of these pictures, I took them in JPEG, so I don't do the RAW capability of this phone yet. However, looking at the results of the pictures taken using this phone, I'm generally impressed with the image quality. At the end of the video, I will also compare the S21 FE with my older phone, the Samsung Galaxy Note10, to see if it's already been improved significantly. And also, because I talked so many times about micro four thirds on my channel, then I will naturally also will compare the S21 FE with my micro four thirds camera. However, right now I just want to talk about the image quality result from the S21 FE without comparing it to other devices. So I took some pictures already using the S21 FE from this last few days of using this phone, and I just want to tell you that when I'm using the camera application on the phone, I'm usually using the standard photo mode, and then I'm also using the night mode if I'm in lower light situation or if it's dark in the evening. And also I'm using the portrait mode to get that fall background blur kind of look like if you're using a larger sensor camera. Now let's talk about the normal photo mode first. When you use the 1x zoom, the normal wide angle camera, the 26mm, I think the picture looks really good. It looks contrasty, the saturation is okay. It is very detailed in good lighting situation, and it's just overall really nice. And when you switch to the ultra wide, the picture is still sharp, it is still detailed, and you get even more things in the frame because it is wider. And I think 13mm is really wide. You start to see a little bit of distortion on the edges of the frame, but that's very normal. And it's just fun to use ultra wide angle camera, especially on a small phone like this. When you switch to the 3x telephoto zoom, I think that's where some magics also happen, because the 3x telephoto zoom on this phone is also a real optical zoom. It's not digital zoom, it's not cropping in or things like that, so it looks more natural, especially when compared to my older phone, and I just really enjoy using it. The picture is contrasty, it is detailed, and it is also pleasing to look at under good lighting condition. If you are shooting in a lighting condition that is less than ideal, when it starts to get dark in the evening, then the photo starts to suffer a little bit. All the cameras, the 1x, the ultra wide angle and the telephoto, they will start to look grainy, they will lose some details, and they're also not gonna look as good when you compare to the photos taken during good lighting situation. And then you switch to the night mode, and then that's when the magic starts to happen. With the 1x and the ultra wide camera, the picture starts to look really clear, really bright and really pleasing to look at. It starts to retain some more detail, especially if you have textures on your photo such as small rocks or the leaves from a tree or something like that. However, with the 3x telephoto, I still find a little bit of grain and a little bit of weird texture going on, maybe because I cannot handhold it for too long and it is a little bit more shaky when compared to ultra wide or normal wide, so the pictures doesn't come out as good when compared to the 1x or the ultra wide angle. Now, if you start to use the portrait mode of the phone and switch to the 3x telephoto camera, then some other magic starts to happen. And I really enjoy this mode, particularly the portrait mode with the 3x telephoto camera. It starts to show its strengths because this is using a real optical 3x zoom camera with lens, as opposed to other phones who are using a crop main sensor, which will look a little bit less detailed when compared to this. With the portrait mode, you can get a faux background blur kind of look, like you're using a real mirrorless camera with large sensor, and I really enjoy that, especially with the 3x telephoto. There are some occasions when the portrait mode cannot really recognize the edges of the subject that you're trying to photograph and starts to chop up some weird stuff around the hair usually, or maybe around the clothes. But with the S21 FE, I don't find it happening as much when compared to my older phone or other phones that I've seen so far. So yeah, this is really a good mode when you want to have a picture that has background blur or bokeh. Speaking of background blur, in normal mode, if you're switching to 3x telephoto zoom, you don't have as much background blur. I don't know why, maybe because they're using very small sensor in the camera on the 3x telephoto lens. If you're using the standard 1x wide camera, if you point the phone very close to your subject, like around this distance, about 5 to 10 centimeters away, then you start to get natural background blur from the main 1x camera. With the ultra wide camera, you don't really get background blur at all. In fact, you don't really get autofocus with the ultra wide angle camera. You just get an exposure lock, but you cannot really autofocus with that because it has a fixed focus lens. Overall, I can say that I'm really happy with the image quality of the pictures taken using these phones. All of these cameras perform really good for what they are. If you understand what they are, I think I can really say that they are nice. Now, we know that there are other phones that are probably better when compared to the S21 FE. There's the new iPhone 13, the new Google Pixel 6 Pro, and also the new Samsung Galaxy S22 series. I think they will be better, maybe. I don't know, I haven't got a chance to try those phones. But for what it is, I think the S21 FE will satisfy your photography needs, especially for a phone camera. Now I want to compare the S21 FE, the image quality of this phone with my older phone, the Galaxy Note 10. So if I'm comparing the image quality of the pictures taken between these two phones, I can say that there's an improvement of image quality on the S21 FE. Maybe it's not that significant, but I can notice it already, especially on the ultra wide and on the 3x zoom. The ultra wide retains more detail on the S21 FE. I can see it if I'm shooting something with textures like grasses or leaves on the tree. It is more detailed on the S21 FE compared with the Galaxy Note 10. Also, the telephoto zoom, the 3x cameras, is better on the S21 FE when compared to the 2x cameras on the Galaxy Note 10. I think this is more detailed. I think it is also more pleasing to look at, and the 3x zooms is more significant when compared to the 2x zoom of the Galaxy Note 10. The night mode on the ultra wide on the S21 FE is also better. I can clearly see the difference between this phone and the Galaxy Note 10. However, with the 3x zoom, I think the S21 FE did something weird with the texture, so I don't know if it's a fault in my shooting technique or because I'm unable to handhold it for too long, but I think the night mode of the 2x zoom on the Note 10 is still a little bit better, but maybe we have to test it further down the road. Now the final question, can the S21 FE compete with a mirrorless camera? Well, the answer is a little bit complicated. In terms of pure image quality, no, this cannot compete with any mirrorless camera, including Micro Four Thirds. I think my Micro Four Thirds camera still produces better image quality, significantly better, because the sensor is larger, it has better image processing, and it also looks more natural, especially when you're doing background blur stuff. With the Galaxy S21 FE, I think it's better when compared to the Note 10. However, it still looks not natural. I think it cannot really replicate that large sensor kind of look like the one that I get from Micro Four Thirds camera. However, in terms of practicality, I think having a phone that is always with you can really help you in terms of photography. You have better chance of capturing something that really interests you when compared to having a mirrorless camera, because you always have a phone inside your pocket, but you don't always carry a camera with you 24/7. So I think that's the difference right there. When it comes to photography, sometimes it's not about the camera, but it's just about being able to capture something that is meaningful, beautiful, and something that is interesting to you. So if you're looking for a new phone with a good camera capabilities and you don't really care about what's out there, I think the S21 FE is a good alternative to the iPhone 13, to the Google Pixel 6 Pro, and to the S21 from Samsung. I think it's a little bit underrated, and I think you will happy with the camera capabilities of this phone. Sure, it's not gonna compete with your mirrorless cameras, but I think it will produce an image quality that is more than good enough for your everyday needs. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all for today's video. I hope that you find this video to be useful and entertaining. If you have any question about the S21 FE, please comment down below and I will try my best to answer all of your comments. Also, don't forget to support my small channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. Thank you and goodbye.